In the vast, shimmering expanse of the Nytherian Empire, where stars whispered secrets to those brave enough to listen, Empress Lyra reigned supreme from her throne on the crystalline world of Auralis. Her beauty was a legend that echoed through the galaxies, hair as white as the nebulae that birthed new suns, skin pale and luminous like the glow of distant moons, and ears that tapered into delicate points, reminiscent of ancient elven tales from Earth's forgotten myths. She moved with a grace that could command armies or shatter hearts, her form clad in flowing garments of iridescent silk that hugged her curves in ways that seemed both regal and inviting, a blend of power and allure that no one dared approach. But Lyra was cursed, or so the stories went. A psychic barrier enveloped her, an invisible force field woven from the remnants of an ancient artifact unearthed during the Great Void Wars. It wasn't just a shield, it was a devourer of minds. Any being who drew too close felt their thoughts unravel like threads pulled from a tapestry, memories dissolving, sanity crumbling into dust. Emperors from rival systems had tried to court her, warriors from the farthest reaches had sought her alliance, but all had fallen back, their eyes hollow, their spirits broken. The curse protected her empire, yes, but it also condemned her to eternal isolation. No touch, no whisper of intimacy, no shared glance that lingered too long. She ruled alone, her throne a pedestal of solitude amid the swirling colors of her palace's aurora-lit halls. Into this forbidden realm stumbled Kai, a human soldier from the battered fringes of Earth's colonial outposts. Scarred from the brutal Terran conflicts, wars that had pitted humanity against rogue AI swarms and pirate fleets, Kai bore the marks of survival on his rugged frame. His face was etched with lines from battles won and lost, his eyes a stormy gray that held the weight of too many fallen comrades. He wasn't a diplomat or a hero by choice. He was a survivor, thrust into the stars by a desperate federation seeking new allies against an encroaching darkness. His ship, the battered freighter Odyssey, had crash-landed on Auralis after a hyperspace malfunction, leaving him stranded in the heart of Nytherian territory. Kai emerged from the wreckage, his combat suit torn and scorched, the air around him humming with unfamiliar energy. Alarms blared in his helmet's HUD, warnings of psychic anomalies, radiation spikes that defied human science. But Kai had faced worse. On the scorched plains of Mars, he charged into hives of mechanical horrors, his pulse rifle blazing. Here, in this alien paradise of floating crystal spires and bioluminescent gardens, he felt a strange pull, as if the planet itself was calling him forward. As he trudged through the undergrowth, vines parting like welcoming arms, he caught his first glimpse of the palace. It rose like a dream from the mist, towers spiraling into the sky, guarded by sentinels in ornate armor, tall, ethereal beings with the same pointed ears as their empress, their weapons glowing with psionic energy. They spotted him immediately, their voices a melodic chorus in his translator implant. "Intruder! Human filth dares tread on sacred ground." Kai raised his hands, palms out, his voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through him. "I'm not here to fight. My ship went down, I'm just looking for help." But the guards laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a storm. "Help from us? You know nothing of our Empress's curse, outsider. Approach her, and your mind will be ash." They bound him with energy cuffs that tingled against his skin, dragging him through grand corridors lined with holographic murals of ancient battles. Whispers followed him, servants and courtiers peeking from alcoves, their eyes wide with curiosity. Humans were rare in these parts, myths of resilient barbarians who conquered worlds with sheer willpower. Kai felt their gazes like heat on his back, but he kept his chin high, his scarred jaw set in determination. Finally, they thrust him into the throne room, a cavernous space where light danced in prisms, casting rainbows across the floor. And there she was, Empress Lyra, seated upon a throne of living crystal that pulsed with her heartbeat. Her white hair cascaded like a waterfall over her shoulders, her dress a masterpiece of elegance, sheer in places that hinted at the perfection beneath, accentuating her lithe, sensual form. Her eyes, a piercing violet, locked onto him, and for a moment the air thickened with unspoken tension. "Who is this?" Her voice was silk over steel, resonant and commanding, sending a shiver down Kai's spine that had nothing to do with fear. "A human, your majesty," one guard replied, bowing low. "Crashed on the outer rim, he claims accident." Lyra leaned forward, her pointed ears twitching slightly, a subtle sign of intrigue. "A human? I've heard tales of your kind. Stubborn, unyielding, you fight wars that consume planets, yet here you stand, unbroken." She rose, gliding down the steps with a sway that made Kai's breath catch. The curse hummed around her, an audible buzz now like static before a storm. The guard stepped back, smirking. "Shall we dispose of him, Empress, or let the curse do its work?" Kai met her gaze, unflinching. Something in her eyes, loneliness perhaps hidden behind the regal facade, stirred him. He'd lost too much in his wars, friends, a lover once, to the cold void of space. What was one more risk? "If your curse is real," he said, his voice low and gravelly, "then let me face it, but I won't kneel." The room fell silent. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Lyra tilted her head, a faint smile playing on her lips, revealing the allure that had doomed so many. "Bold words, human. Approach if you dare." The psychic barrier intensified as he stepped closer, a pressure building in his skull like the onset of a migraine. Whispers invaded his mind, doubts, fears from his past battles, visions of comrades screaming in flames. But Kai pushed through, drawing on the iron will forged in Earth's hellish conflicts. One foot after another, sweat beading on his brow, until he was mere inches away. Her scent enveloped him, exotic, like blooming night flowers in zero gravity. Up close, her beauty was intoxicating, her skin flawless, her form curving in ways that spoke of both strength and vulnerability. The curse clawed at him now, eroding the edges of his thoughts, but he raised his hand slowly, deliberately. The guards gasped. Courtiers murmured in shock. No one had ever gotten this far. And then, with a fearless gesture born of pure human defiance, Kai touched her hand. The world exploded in light. But instead of crumbling, the barrier shattered like glass under a hammer. Shards of psychic energy dissipated into harmless sparks, raining down around them. Lyra's eyes widened in astonishment, her lips parting in a gasp that was equal parts relief and wonder. The curse, it was gone. Kai staggered back, his mind clearing, but he didn't fall. He stood tall, his scarred hand still warm from her touch. What just happened?" Lyra stared at him, her violet eyes shimmering with unshed tears. For the first time in centuries, she felt the brush of another's skin, the simple miracle of connection. You broke it. The curse was no curse at all, it was a test. An ancient safeguard from my ancestors designed to weed out the unworthy. Only one with a mind unyielding, a heart unafraid, could shatter it. The throne room erupted in chaos, guards drawing weapons, courtiers fleeing, but Lyra raised a hand, silencing them. "He is no enemy. He is salvation." Kai blinked, processing her words. Salvation, him, a battered soldier from a backwater planet. But as she stepped closer, her body language shifting from regal distance to something more intimate, he felt a spark ignite between them. Her hand lingered on his, her touch electric, sending waves of warmth through his battle-hardened frame. In that moment, amid the glittering ruins of a broken illusion, Kai realized he hadn't just survived a crash. He'd stumbled into a destiny that could reshape the stars. And Lyra, the untouchable Empress, looked at him not as an intruder, but as the man who had dared what no other could. As the palace alarms faded and the first hints of alliance formed in whispered counsel, Kai couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Her gaze held promises of power, of passion, of a bond that transcended species. And in her eyes, he saw the reflection of humanity's greatest strength, the audacity to reach out, even when the universe warned against it. But dangers lurked beyond the throne room. Whispers of rebellion stirred in the Empire's shadows, factions who had profited from her isolation, now threatened by this human interloper. Kai's arrival had set events in motion, and as Lyra's fingers intertwined with his, a subtle thrill coursed through them both, hinting at intimacies yet unexplored. The night deepened on Auralis, the auroras painting the sky in vibrant hues, and in the quiet aftermath, Lyra led him to her private chambers. The room was a sanctuary of luxury, floating orbs of light, silken bedding that seemed to mold to the body, and views of the starry expanse through transparent walls. "You must be weary from your journey," she murmured, her voice a caress. "Rest here, we have much to discuss, and perhaps more." Kai hesitated at the threshold, his human instincts warring with the alien allure before him. Her dress clung to her in the soft light, accentuating the graceful swell of her hips, the elegant curve of her neck. Those pointed ears framed her face like jewels, and her white hair spilled over one shoulder, inviting touch. He'd faced death countless times, but this vulnerability, this pull was new. As she turned to him, her eyes darkening with unspoken desire, the air between them crackled with tension. The curse's shattering had awakened something in her, a hunger long suppressed, and in Kai it stirred a fire he thought extinguished by war. Little did he know, the test was far from over. The artifact's true secrets lay hidden, waiting to elevate humanity or destroy it. For now, though, in the intimacy of her gaze, Kai allowed himself to step inside, the door sealing behind them with a soft hiss. The Empire watched, but in this moment they were alone, two souls from different worlds on the brink of something extraordinary. As Lyra poured a shimmering elixir into crystal goblets, her movements fluid and enticing, she shared fragments of her past. The curse was meant to protect me from betrayal. My ancestors built the empire on trust, but wars eroded it. Only the worthy could break through. Her fingers brushed his as she handed him the drink, a deliberate touch that sent sparks up his arm. Kai sipped, the liquid warm and invigorating, chasing away the fatigue of his crash. And I'm worthy, me, a soldier with more scars than medals? She smiled, a genuine expression that lit her features. Humans are enigmas. Your kind adapts, endures. In you, I see a strength that my people have lost to complacency. She stepped closer, her body heat mingling with his, her scent enveloping him like a promise. The conversation flowed into the night, tales of Earth struggles mingling with Nytherian lore. Kai spoke of the Terran conflicts, the desperation that drove humanity to the stars, his voice rough but honest. Lyra listened, her violet eyes never leaving his, her hand occasionally resting on his knee, a touch that grew bolder, more lingering. Tension built like a storm on the horizon. When she leaned in, her lips inches from his, the world narrowed to just them. You've given me freedom, Kai, let me show you gratitude. Their first kiss was tentative, exploratory, a meeting of worlds. Her lips were soft, tasting of starlight and spice, her body pressing against his with a need that mirrored his own. Kai's hands found her waist, pulling her closer, the fabric of her dress thin enough to feel the warmth beneath. As they deepened the embrace, the room seemed to hum with energy, the shattered curse's remnants fueling a passion long denied. Lyra's fingers traced his scars, each one a story she wanted to learn, her touch igniting fires in places he'd forgotten could burn. They moved to the bed, clothes shedding like old skins, revealing her flawless form, curves that begged exploration, skin glowing under the aural light. Kai marveled at her, his human roughness contrasting her ethereal beauty, but in that difference lay the magic. The night unfolded in waves of discovery, bodies entwining in rhythms that transcended language. Whispers of pleasure echoed in the chamber, her pointed ears flushing with color as she arched under his touch. It was more than physical. It was a bridging of souls, humanity's bold spirit awakening desires in her that no Nytherian could match. As dawn broke over Auralis, they lay tangled in sheets, breath sinking in quiet contentment. But outside, shadows stirred, emissaries from rival factions, alerted to the curse's fall, plotting in the dark. Kai knew peace was fleeting. Yet, in Lyra's arms, he found a purpose worth fighting for. As the first rays of Auralis's twin suns filtered through the transparent walls of Lyra's chambers, casting a golden haze over their entwined forms, Kai felt the weight of the night settle into something deeper, more insistent. Her body pressed against his, soft and yielding yet charged with an otherworldly energy that made his pulse quicken anew. The sheets, woven from threads that seemed to breathe with the planet's rhythm, tangled around them like a lover's embrace, but Kai's mind, sharpened by years of vigilance, couldn't fully surrender to the bliss. Whispers of doubt crept in, echoes from the throne room's chaos, reminding him that breaking a curse might have unleashed forces far beyond a simple touch. Lyra stirred, her white hair spilling across his chest like moonlight on water, her pointed ears brushing his skin in a way that sent subtle thrills racing through him. She lifted her head, violet eyes meeting his with a gaze that held both vulnerability and fire. "You haven't slept," she murmured, her voice a low, melodic hum that vibrated against him. Her fingers traced lazy patterns over the scars on his torso, each touch a question, an invitation. Is it the Empire's shadows that haunt you, or something more personal? Kai's hand found the curve of her hip, pulling her closer, the warmth of her body igniting memories of the hours before, explorations that had blurred the lines between human grit and alien grace. He'd expected resistance, perhaps even the cold detachment of royalty, but Lyra had unfolded before him like a forbidden bloom, her responses eager, almost desperate after centuries of isolation. Now, in the quiet dawn, that passion simmered just beneath the surface, ready to flare again. Both, he admitted, his voice rough from the night's exertions. I've crashed into stranger places, but none with an empress who looks at me like I'm the answer to a prayer I didn't know she was making. She smiled, a slow, seductive curve of her lips that revealed the tips of her elegant fangs, subtle, not threatening, but a reminder of her otherness. Rising slightly, she straddled him with effortless poise, her gauzy nightgown slipping from one shoulder to expose the luminous glow of her pale skin. The fabric clung to her sensual form, outlining the swell of her breasts and the dip of her waist, teasing what lay beneath. Kai's breath hitched as she leaned down, her hair cascading around them like a curtain, enclosing them in a private world. "Then let me be your distraction," she whispered, her lips grazing his ear, her breath warm and spiced with the elixir they'd shared. "The Empire can wait a little longer." Their kiss reignited the spark, slow at first, building like a gathering storm. Kai's hands roamed her back, feeling the subtle ridges along her spine, evolutionary remnants from her species' ancient aquatic origins, he'd guess, each one a new texture that fascinated him. She arched into his touch, a soft moan escaping her as his fingers ventured lower, cupping the firmness of her hips. The erotic dance began anew, bodies moving in sync, her movements fluid and hypnotic, drawing him deeper into her rhythm. There was a suspense in it, a delicious tension as he wondered how far this alien queen would let herself go, how much of her guarded heart she'd reveal in these stolen moments. But even as passion enveloped them, the outside world intruded in subtle ways. A distant hum echoed through the palace walls, perhaps the activation of defense grids or the murmur of courtiers assembling. Kai pulled back slightly, his lips trailing down her neck, tasting the salt-sweet essence of her skin. "Lyra," he breathed against her collarbone, "what if they're coming for us? The ones who liked you cursed and alone." She paused, her body tensing above him, but then she pressed closer, her thighs tightening around his waist in a way that sent waves of heat through him. "Let them come," she replied, her voice laced with defiance and desire. "You've awakened me, Kai. For the first time I feel alive, not just ruling but feeling." Her hands explored him in return, fingers dancing over the hard planes of his chest, tracing the path of old wounds that told stories of human resilience. Each scar seemed to intrigue her, as if his battered form was a map to a strength her people had forgotten. The air grew thick with anticipation, their breaths mingling as she guided his hands to the ties of her gown, loosening them with deliberate slowness. As the fabric pooled around her waist, revealing the full allure of her body, curves that seemed sculpted by starlight, skin shimmering with an inner luminescence, Kai marveled at the trust she placed in him. No human had ever touched her like this, and the thought fueled a possessive fire within him. He flipped her gently onto her back, his weight pressing her into the yielding bed, eliciting a gasp of surprise and delight from her lips. "You're not like them," she whispered, her pointed ears flushing a delicate pink as his mouth found the sensitive spot just below one, drawing out shivers that rippled through her. "Nytherians court with ritual's distance. You take what you want with such raw hunger." "It's how we survive," he growled softly, his hands caressing the smooth expanse of her thighs, parting them with care. The erotic buildup was intoxicating, each touch layered with the suspense of discovery, what would make her cry out, what secrets her body held that no other had unlocked. Lyra's responses were uninhibited, her hips rising to meet his explorations, her violet eyes darkening to near black with need. The room filled with the sounds of their intimacy, soft sighs, the rustle of sheets, the quickening of breaths as they lost themselves in each other once more. Yet, woven into the passion was an undercurrent of danger that heightened every sensation. Kai's soldier instincts picked up on faint vibrations through the floor, footsteps, machinery. He didn't stop, but his touches became more urgent, as if claiming her before the storm broke. Lyra sensed it too, her nails, sharp but not piercing, digging into his shoulders, urging him on. "Don't think of them now," she pleaded, her voice husky, pulling him down for a kiss that tasted of urgency and promise. Their bodies joined in a rhythm that built to a crescendo, waves of pleasure crashing over them, suspending time in a haze of ecstasy. In the aftermath, as they lay spent and intertwined, hearts pounding in unison, the suspense crept back. A soft chime echoed from a hidden console, and Lyra's expression shifted from sated bliss to alert concern. She disentangled herself reluctantly, her naked form graceful as she crossed to the device, the sway of her hips a lingering temptation. Kai watched, propped on one elbow, admiring the way the light played over her curves, but his mind sharpened. "Trouble?" he asked, already reaching for his discarded combat suit. She glanced back, her white hair tousled in a way that made her look less empress and more woman, his woman perhaps. An envoy from the Shadow clans, they demand audience. Rumors of the curse's fall have spread faster than light. Her eyes met his, a mix of fear and resolve. "They see you as a threat, Kai, a human who pierced what no Nytherian could." He stood, pulling on his gear with practiced efficiency, the erotic haze giving way to the thrill of impending conflict. But as he approached her, wrapping an arm around her waist and drawing her close one last time, he felt the bond strengthening. "Then we'll face them together," he said, his lips brushing hers in a promise. Humanity doesn't back down from a fight, especially not for something worth protecting. Lyra leaned into him, her body molding to his, the warmth a stark contrast to the cooling air. "You've given me more than freedom," she confessed, her voice soft with emotion. "You've shown me desire without fear." Their kiss was brief but intense, a seal on the passion they'd shared, before she donned her regal attire, still gauzy, still accentuating her form in ways that made Kai's blood stir. As they stepped toward the chamber doors, the palace's hum grew louder, shadows lengthening in the corridors beyond. The erotic interlude had forged something unbreakable between them, but the Empire's machinations waited, poised to test it. Kai's hand found hers, squeezing gently, a fearless gesture that echoed the one that had started it all. Whatever came next, he knew one thing: this human soldier had claimed more than a throne, he'd claimed a heart amid the stars. The envoy awaited in the antechamber, a cluster of hooded figures with eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Their leader, a tall Nytherian with skin like polished obsidian, stepped forward, his voice a hiss of accusation. "Empress, the artifact's power wanes because of this outsider. The clans demand restitution. Hand him over or face unrest." Lyra's chin lifted, her posture regal, but Kai felt the subtle tremble in her hand. He released it, stepping forward with a grin that belied the tension coiling in his muscles. "Restitution? How about I show you what a human can do without your fancy curses?" The room crackled with energy, psionic fields humming as the envoys prepared to strike. Suspense hung thick, the erotic afterglow sharpening Kai's senses, making every movement feel alive with possibility. Lyra's eyes locked on his, a silent plea mixed with admiration, her human hero, ready to defy the stars for her. In that charged moment, as hands reached for weapons and minds for barriers, Kai lunged, his scarred frame a blur of motion honed from Earth's brutal wars. The fight erupted, a whirlwind of energy blasts and close-quarters combat, where human tenacity clashed with alien finesse. Blasts scorched the air, singeing Kai's suit as he dodged, rolling behind a crystalline pillar that shattered under the assault. Shards flew like deadly confetti, but he emerged unscathed, pulse rifle salvaged from his crash firing in precise bursts. One envoy crumpled, his psionic shield overwhelmed by the raw kinetic force of human weaponry. "Your minds are strong," Kai shouted over the din, "but try blocking lead." Lyra joined the fray, her own powers awakening fully now that the curse's veil was lifted. Violet energy crackled from her fingertips, weaving barriers that deflected incoming attacks, her form a vision of lethal beauty amid the chaos. She moved with him, their synergy born from the night's intimacy, a dance of destruction that mirrored their passion. An envoy charged her, his claws extended, but Kai intercepted, tackling the assailant with bone-jarring force. They grappled on the floor, the alien's strength surprising, but Kai's scars told of dirtier fights. He headbutted the foe, stars exploding in his vision, then drove an elbow into the throat, ending the threat with a gurgle. The leader retreated, calling reinforcements through a communicator, but Lyra sealed the doors with a wave of her hand, the palace responding to her will. "You underestimate us," she declared, standing beside Kai, her dress torn but her allure undiminished. Sweat glistened on her skin, highlighting the curves that had driven him wild hours before. As the last envoy fell, subdued but alive, Kai wiped blood from his lip, turning to her with a smirk. "Not bad for a morning workout." She laughed, a sound like music, pulling him into an embrace that reignited the spark. "My warrior," she breathed, her body pressing against his in the midst of the wreckage, the erotic tension blending with the adrenaline of battle. Their lips met in a fierce kiss, hands roaming with renewed hunger, the suspense of further threats only fueling the fire. But as alarms blared anew, signaling more intruders breaching the outer defenses, Kai knew the real test was just beginning. In Lyra's arms, amid the ruins of their first shared victory, he felt invincible, a human elevating an empire, one fearless gesture at a time. As alarms wailed through the palace like the cries of wounded beasts, echoing off the crystalline walls and amplifying the chaos, Kai and Lyra broke apart from their fervent kiss, breaths ragged and eyes locked in a shared resolve that pulsed with the remnants of their passion. The antechamber, now a battlefield strewn with subdued envoys and shattered energy conduits sparking fitfully, felt too small for the storm brewing beyond its sealed doors. Kai's muscles ached from the skirmish, but adrenaline surged through him like a familiar old friend, sharpening his senses to the distant thunder of approaching forces, boots pounding corridors, psionic hums building like a symphony of doom. Lyra's hand slipped into his, her fingers cool and steady despite the fear flickering in her violet depths, a silent vow that they would face this together, human grit fused with alien majesty. "They're breaching the outer wards," she said, her voice cutting through the din with imperial clarity, though laced with an undercurrent of thrill that mirrored his own. She adjusted her torn dress, the fabric still clinging to her curves in a way that distracted him even now, a reminder of the intimacies that had bound them tighter than any alliance treaty. The Shadow clans aren't alone, they've rallied the Void Sentinels, my empire's elite guardians who have turned traitor. If they reach the artifact chamber... Kai nodded, piecing it together from the fragments she'd shared in their whispered nights. The ancient relic that had powered her curse wasn't just a safeguard, it was the heart of Nytheria's power, a nexus of psychic energy that could bend reality itself. If seized by rebels, it could unravel the Empire, or worse, twist it into a weapon against the stars. He grabbed a fallen envoy's psionic blade, the hilt vibrating in his grip like a living thing, adapting to his human touch with surprising ease. Then we don't let them. Lead the way, Empress. I've got your back. They burst through a side passage, Lyra's knowledge of the palace's hidden veins guiding them like a map etched in her blood. The corridors twisted like serpents, lit by glowing veins in the walls that pulsed erratically, as if the building itself sensed the invasion. Blasts shook the structure, dust sifting from ceilings, and Kai's mind raced with strategies honed on Earth's forsaken battlefields. Flank, feint, overwhelm. But this was no human war. Psychic waves assaulted them, invisible tendrils probing their thoughts, seeking weaknesses. Lyra deflected them with effortless waves of her hand, her power amplified since the curse's fall, but each defense drained her, sweat beading on her luminous skin, highlighting the elegant lines of her neck and the swell beneath her ragged gown. A squad of sentinels ambushed them at a junction, armored figures with helmets that masked their elfin features, weapons crackling with violet fire. "Surrender the human, Empress," their leader bellowed, voice amplified to thunder. "He's poisoned your mind, the artifact demands purity." Kai dove forward, the psionic blade humming to life in an arc of energy that cleaved through the first attacker's shield. The clash was visceral, thrilling, a dance of light and shadow where human unpredictability trumped alien precision. He parried a blast that scorched the air, the heat singeing his hair, then countered with a brutal kick to the knee, dropping the foe with a crunch. Lyra flanked him, her own blasts weaving intricate patterns that disoriented the enemy, forcing them to hallucinate swarms of illusions. One sentinel lunged at her, claws extended, but Kai intercepted, tackling the assailant into a wall that cracked under the impact. They rolled, grappling in a frenzy of limbs and energy discharges, Kai's scarred arms straining against the alien's enhanced strength. In the melee, a surprising revelation struck him like a bolt. The sentinel's helmet cracked open, revealing a face twisted not just in rage, but in desperation. "You don't understand," the warrior gasped as Kai pinned him. "The artifact isn't a test, it's a prison. It holds something ancient, something that could devour us all if freed improperly." The words hung in the air, curious and ominous, even as Kai silenced the foe with a stun from the blade's hilt. Lyra's eyes widened, a flicker of doubt crossing her regal features for the first time. "What did he mean?" she whispered, helping Kai to his feet, her touch lingering on his arm, electric amid the danger. Before he could respond, the palace shuddered violently, a dramatic boom echoing from deeper within. "The chamber!" Lyra cried, pulling him onward. They raced through collapsing halls, debris raining down, the thrill of pursuit heightening every sense. Kai's heart pounded, not just from exertion, but from the intoxicating blend of fear and exhilaration, protecting her, unraveling secrets that could redefine the galaxy. Whispers invaded his mind again, stronger now, visions of cosmic horrors, tentacled voids, screaming stars, an entity trapped in the artifact, waiting for release. They burst into the artifact chamber, a vast dome where the relic hovered at the center, a pulsating orb of iridescent light, cracks spiderwebbing its surface from the curse's shattering. Shadow clan leaders encircled it, chanting in an ancient tongue, their psionic fields merging to probe its core. At their head stood a figure Kai hadn't expected, Lord Vexar, Lyra's once-trusted advisor, his pointed ears adorned with traitorous runes, his form cloaked in shadows that writhed like living ink. "Lyra," Vexar intoned, his voice a velvet blade, turning with a dramatic flourish that revealed eyes glowing with unnatural hunger. "You've arrived just in time for the awakening. The human's touch was the key we needed, his crude will crack the seal. Now the Elder One stirs." The revelation hit like a supernova, surprising and thrilling in its betrayal. Kai's grip tightened on the blade. "You used us," he growled, piecing it together. The crash, the envoys, all orchestrated to force the confrontation. Vexar had manipulated the curse, turning it into a lock only an outsider could break, unleashing whatever nightmare lurked within. Lyra stepped forward, her white hair whipping in the growing psychic wind, her body a silhouette of defiance against the orb's glare. Traitor, the Elder One is a myth, a story to scare children. What have you done? Vexar's laugh echoed, chilling and curious, as tendrils of darkness snaked from the artifact, probing the air. Not a myth, my queen. A god, imprisoned by our ancestors for its power. With it, I'll remake the Empire. No, the galaxy in my image. And you, human, your species' infamous resilience will be the perfect vessel. The chamber erupted in chaos, sentinels charging as the orb pulsed wildly, reality warping around it. Kai and Lyra fought back to back, a whirlwind of motion, his blade slashing through armor, her energy blasts disintegrating foes. A sentinel's claw raked Kai's side, drawing blood that sizzled on the floor, but he pressed on, driven by a protective fury that made him feel superhuman. Lyra cried out as a psychic lash struck her, dropping her to one knee, her dress tearing further to reveal the graceful lines of her form, vulnerable yet unyielding. In a thrilling surge, Kai hurled himself at Vexar, the two clashing in a duel that shook the dome. Vexar's shadows coiled around him, striking like vipers, but Kai dodged with earthly agility, his scars a testament to survival. You aliens think you're superior, he taunted, landing a blow that cracked Vexar's shield. But humans, we adapt, we endure. The advisor countered, a blast sending Kai flying into a wall, stars exploding in his vision, but he rose, bloodied and defiant. The climax built as the artifact fractured further, a curious hum filling the air, voices, ancient and alien whispering promises of power. Surprising tendrils lashed out, not at them, but at Vexar, wrapping around him in a betrayal of his own making. No, he screamed, his form contorting as the Elder One rejected his ambition, deeming him unworthy. Lyra seized the moment, channeling her power into the orb, her body glowing with effort, sweat tracing rivulets down her curves. Kai, help me seal it, she urged, her voice dramatic and pleading. He joined her, his hand on hers atop the relic. Their combined wills, human tenacity and Nytherian grace, pushing back the emerging horror. Energy surged, thrilling and electric as visions flooded them. The Elder One, a being of pure thought, imprisoned not for malice but to protect the galaxy from its unchecked curiosity. It had tested empires before, devouring the weak-minded. But in Kai, it found something new, humanity's bold spirit, unafraid of the unknown. With a surprising twist, the entity retreated, the cracks mending under their touch, but not before imparting a gift. Knowledge of forgotten stars, technologies that could elevate Nytheria and Earth alike. Vexar writhed, consumed by shadows, his screams fading as he dissolved into nothingness. The chamber fell silent, the orb dimming to a gentle pulse. Lyra collapsed into Kai's arms, her body trembling against his, the drama ebbing into a profound quiet. You saved us, she whispered, her violet eyes filled with wonder, lips brushing his ingratitude. But curiosity lingered. What other secrets did the artifact hold, and how would this change everything? Kai held her close, the thrill of victory mingling with the warmth of her form, knowing the galaxy had just shifted. Humans weren't just survivors, they were saviors, their fearless gestures rewriting destinies. As reinforcements loyal to Lyra finally arrived, the couple stood amidst the wreckage, bonded deeper than before, the surprising alliance of hearts and worlds poised for greater adventures. Yet, in the orb's faint glow, a final whisper echoed in Kai's mind. This is only the beginning. The curiosity it sparked was intoxicating, hinting at threats beyond imagination, drawing them into a thrilling unknown. As reinforcements poured into the artifact chamber like a tide of shimmering armor and urgent voices, their loyal Nytherian faces etched with a mix of relief and awe at the sight of their Empress alive, and the traitor Vexar reduced to a fading echo of shadows, Kai felt the weight of the moment shift from triumphant high to something far more precarious. Lyra clung to him a second longer, her curvaceous form pressed against his battle-worn frame in a way that sent lingering sparks through his veins, but she straightened with regal poise as her guards knelt before her, their pointed ears dipping in deference. The orb's gentle pulse cast an ethereal light over the scene, illuminating the wreckage, scattered armor, scorched walls, and the faint psychic residue that hummed like a distant choir. Kai's side throbbed from the claw wound, blood seeping through his suit, but he ignored it, his gray eyes scanning the newcomers for any hint of lingering betrayal. The whisper in his mind, "This is only the beginning," lingered like an itch he couldn't scratch, heightening the drama as questions swirled. What exactly had they unleashed, and who else knew? Empress, the lead guard, a stern female named Tiva with hair as silver as Lyra's was white, rose first, her gaze flicking suspiciously to Kai. The palace is secure, but reports flood in, whispers of the curse's fall have reached the outer colonies. Delegations demand proof of your stability. And this human. She gestured at him with a mix of curiosity and disdain, her elegant armor clinking softly. Lyra's hand found Kai's again, squeezing with a firmness that belied the vulnerability he'd seen moments ago, her luminous skin still flushed from the exertion. He is no mere human, Tiva. He is the one who shattered the illusion, exposed the test, and sealed the Elder One anew. Without him, we'd all be lost to Vexar's madness. Her voice carried the weight of command, but Kai caught the subtle tremor, the way her pointed ears twitched, a tell he'd learned in their intimate hours, signaling uncertainty beneath the surface. The guards murmured among themselves, eyes widening as they pieced together the chaos. One younger sentinel, barely out of training by the look of his unscarred face, blurted out, "But a human touching the Empress? That's unprecedented." The words hung in the air, awkward and charged, drawing chuckles from a few veterans who quickly stifled them under Tiva's glare. Kai felt heat rise to his cheeks, not from embarrassment, but from the absurdity of it all. Here he was, a scarred grunt from Earth's dusty outposts, suddenly the center of an alien soap opera. He cleared his throat, trying to diffuse the tension with a wry grin. "Yeah, well, back home we call that Tuesday. Anyone got a med kit? I'm leaking like a faulty hyperdrive." Lyra shot him a look, her violet eyes sparkling with a mix of amusement and exasperation, but the humor lightened the room just enough to ease the drama's grip. Tiva barked an order, and a medic rushed forward, unfurling a holographic scanner that buzzed over Kai's wound. The device hummed, knitting flesh with invisible threads, but not before the young sentinel piped up again. "Does this mean alliances? With Earth? Or is he your consort?" The question landed like a misplaced photon torpedo, the chamber falling into a stunned silence broken only by the orb's soft thrum. Kai nearly choked on his own spit, his hand freezing mid-reach for a water flask from his belt. Consort? The word conjured images of fancy robes and political dinners, not his style at all. Lyra's cheeks tinted a delicate lavender, her species equivalent of a blush, her gauzy dress, still torn from the fight, doing little to hide the sensual curves that had driven him to distraction earlier. She composed herself quickly, but not before Kai caught the awkward flicker in her expression, a queen unaccustomed to such personal scrutiny. "That," she said with forced dignity, "is a matter for private counsel. For now, focus on securing the artifact and quelling the rumors." But the drama escalated as holographic displays flickered to life around the chamber, projected from the guards' wrist devices, urgent missives from across the Empire. One showed a riot brewing on the moon of Zavara, where clans loyal to Vexar chanted for the true awakening. Another displayed a fleet of unidentified ships massing at the Empire's border, their signatures curiously human-like, but twisted with unfamiliar tech. Kai's stomach nodded. Could Earth's Federation have caught wind already, or worse, rogue elements seeking to exploit the chaos? "This isn't over," he muttered, stepping closer to the orb, its glow reflecting in his eyes. The artifact responded to his proximity, pulsing brighter, as if recognizing the human who dared touch its guardian. Tiva's face hardened. "We must convene the High Council immediately, but the human protocol demands quarantine until we assess his influence." The word influence dripped with implication, heightening the awkwardness as guards shifted uncomfortably, stealing glances at Kai and Lyra's intertwined fingers. Kai released her hand reluctantly, crossing his arms with a theatrical sigh. "Quarantine? Great, because nothing says heroes welcome like a cell with a view. Do I at least get room service?" Lyra stifled a laugh, but her eyes betrayed the mounting drama, torn between her role as Empress and the budding connection that had saved them all. "No quarantine," she declared firmly. "Kai stands with me, he's proven his worth." Yet, as they moved to exit the chamber, a new alert blared, a personal communique from Earth's ambassador demanding Kai's immediate extraction. Unauthorized contact with alien royalty, the message scrolled, poses diplomatic risks. Return at once. The timing was suspiciously perfect, ratcheting up the tension as Kai exchanged a glance with Lyra. "My people," he explained with a humorous shrug, though his voice held an edge. "They probably think I've gone native, dancing with elves in space." Her pointed ears perked at the word elves, a cultural mismatch that drew a genuine chuckle from her, easing the awkward air for a heartbeat. But the drama pressed on. If he left now, the Empire might fracture without his unyielding mind to stabilize the artifact. which seemed attuned to him in ways even Lyra didn't fully understand. Escorted through the palace's recovering halls, servants bustling to repair damage, courtiers whispering behind elegant fans, Kai and Lyra found themselves in a private antechamber adjoining the council hall. The room was a haven of luxury. Plush cushions molded from adaptive foam, walls adorned with holographic star maps that shifted like living art, and a central fountain bubbling with iridescent water that carried a faint, relaxing hum. But the solitude only amplified the awkward situations brewing. As Tiva posted guards outside and left them to prepare, Lyra turned to him, her white hair disheveled in a way that made her look endearingly human. Kai, if your Federation recalls you, I don't know if I can hold the Empire together alone. The Elder One's gift, those visions of lost technologies, they're tied to you somehow. He paced, the wound's dull ache a reminder of his vulnerability, but he stopped before her, hands on her shoulders, feeling the warmth through the thin fabric of her dress. I'm not going anywhere without a fight, but admit it, this is weird. One crash landing and suddenly I'm Space Royalty's boyfriend. My old squad would laugh their asses off. The humor landed, drawing a melodic giggle from her that lightened the drama, her pointed ears flushing again as she leaned in, their foreheads touching in an intimate gesture. Yet, the moment shattered when the door hissed open unexpectedly, Tiva bursting in with a data slate, catching them in the near embrace. Empress, the council assembles. Oh, she froze, eyes widening comically at the scene, the awkwardness peaking as she stammered, apologies, shall I delay them? Kai stepped back with exaggerated innocence, hands raised. Hey, just discussing strategy. You know, human style, up close and personal. Lyra covered her mouth, suppressing laughter, but the interruption underscored the heightening stakes. Their bond, once private, was now public fodder, fueling rumors that could either unite or divide the Empire. As they proceeded to the council hall, the drama intensified with arriving delegates, ornate robes swirling, voices rising in heated debate. One elder, a wizened Nytherian named Orin with ears so long they drooped like willow branches, pointed a gnarled finger at Kai. This outsider meddles with forces beyond his primitive grasp. The artifact whispers to him, why? Is he a savior or a spy? The accusation hung heavy, awkward silence blanketing the room as all eyes turned to Kai. He rubbed his neck, chuckling nervously. Spy? Lady, I can barely program my coffee maker back home. If I'm spying, it's the worst op ever. The quip elicited scattered laughs, even from Orin, who harumphed but softened slightly, the humor diffusing the tension just enough to allow dialogue. But as debates raged, alliances proposed, threats analyzed, a sudden quake rocked the palace, the artifact's chamber alerting them via hologram, instability detected. The Elder One's seal wavered, drawn to Kai's presence, demanding his return. Lyra's hand found his under the table, a secret touch amid the chaos, her curves brushing his arm in a way that sent distracting thrills through him. We need you, she whispered, violet eyes pleading. Kai nodded, the drama cresting as he stood to address the council. Fine, you want proof. Let's go back to that glowy ball and see what it wants. But if it turns me into a frog or something, someone's buying me a beer. The awkward humor landed again, buying them time, but as they hurried back, shadows lengthened, literal and figurative, hinting at deeper betrayals. In the chamber, the orb flared dramatically, projecting visions, galaxies colliding, ancient wars, and a prophecy of a human-alien union saving the stars. But the awkward twist came when it demanded a binding ritual, a ceremonial merge of minds and bodies, public for authenticity. Lyra's blush returned full force, Kai's jaw dropping. Wait, in front of everyone, that's efficient, I guess. Tiva, ever the straight-laced guard, coughed awkwardly. Tradition dictates witnesses, but perhaps modifications? The situation spiraled into comedic drama, delegates arguing logistics while Kai and Lyra exchanged glances, part horrified, part intrigued. As preparations began, the humor masked the heightening stakes. Success could forge unbreakable peace, failure unleash the Elder One fully. Kai pulled Lyra aside, whispering, if we're doing this, let's make it count. Human style with flair. Her smile, tentative but warm, sealed the moment, their bond the Empire's unlikely anchor amid the absurdity. In the hushed confines of the artifact chamber, where the orb's soft glow bathed everything in a warm, inviting luminescence that seemed to pulse in rhythm with their accelerating heartbeats, Kai and Lyra stood hand in hand, the council's deliberations fading into a distant murmur as modifications to the ritual were swiftly agreed upon. Privacy, it was decided, would honor tradition while sparing the Empire's dignitaries the full spectacle. though witnesses would observe from afar via holographic links, ensuring the binding's authenticity without intrusion. The air thickened with anticipation, the earlier humor dissolving into a profound intensity as guards sealed the doors, leaving them alone amid the chamber's ancient echoes. Lyra's tentative smile from moments before lingered in Kai's mind, a warm anchor that pulled him deeper into this extraordinary union, their bond evolving from unlikely alliance to something inescapably intimate. She turned to him, her violet eyes shimmering with a blend of nervousness and desire, her white hair cascading freely now, framing her delicate pointed ears and the elegant lines of her face. The torn dress she still wore clung to her sensual form, accentuating the gentle curves that had captivated him since their first encounter. But in this sacred space, it felt like a symbol of their shared vulnerabilities. "Kai," she whispered, her voice a soft caress that sent a shiver down his spine, "this ritual, it's more than ceremony. It merges our essences, minds, spirits, bodies. Are you ready to share everything with me?" He stepped closer, his scarred hands gently cupping her face, feeling the smooth, luminous warmth of her skin against his rough palms, a contrast that only heightened the electric pull between them. "I've faced down armies and voids," he replied, his tone low and reassuring though his pulse raced with the thrill of the unknown. "But this, with you, it's the one battle I want to win." Their lips met in a tender kiss, slow at first, building on the passions they'd explored before, but now infused with the ritual's deeper purpose. The orb responded, its light intensifying, weaving threads of energy around them like a living veil, guiding their movements with subtle nudges that amplified every sensation. Lyra's fingers traced the contours of his chest through his suit, undoing fastenings with deliberate care, her touch igniting sparks that traveled through him like stardust in his veins. As layers fell away, revealing the battle-hardened lines of his body, she pressed against him, her own garments slipping free in a graceful unveiling that left them both exposed to the chamber's gentle warmth. Her form was a vision of ethereal beauty, soft swells and inviting dips that invited exploration, her pale skin glowing under the orb's radiance. Kai's breath caught, his hands roaming her back with reverence, feeling the subtle rhythms of her heartbeat syncing with his own. The awkwardness of the council's eyes faded. Here, it was just them, two souls from distant worlds finding harmony in vulnerability. They sank to the chamber's cushioned dais, a platform that molded to their forms like a lover's embrace, the orb's energy humming softly, enhancing the intimacy without overwhelming it. Lyra guided him with whispers and gentle pulls, her pointed ears brushing his neck as she leaned in, sending delightful tingles across his skin. Their bodies intertwined in a dance of closeness, movements fluid and instinctive, each caress building waves of warmth that spread from their cores. Kai marveled at the way she responded to his touch, arching slightly, her breath quickening in soft sighs that echoed his own rising passion. It was a union of equals, his human strength complementing her graceful fluidity, creating a rhythm that felt timeless, as if the stars themselves approved. The ritual deepened their connection, minds brushing in fleeting visions. Glimpses of Earth's rugged landscapes through his eyes, the swirling nebulae of Nytheria through hers. Sensations amplified, the brush of her hair against his chest like silk, the warmth of her thighs enveloping him in a tender hold. They moved together in harmonious waves, building to peaks of shared ecstasy that washed over them like cosmic tides, bodies trembling in unison as the orb's light flared brighter, sealing their bond with pulses of energy that coursed through every fiber. Lyra's soft cries mingled with his deeper groans, expressions of profound release that transcended words, leaving them breathless and entwined in the afterglow. As the intensity ebbed, they lay wrapped in each other, the orb dimming to a contented glow, its whispers confirming the ritual's success. The Elder One stabilized, the Empire's future secured through their merged essences. Kai traced lazy patterns along her hip, feeling the subtle quiver of her form against his, a quiet intimacy that spoke volumes. "That was, beyond anything," he murmured, pressing a kiss to her forehead, her white locks tickling his lips. Lyra nestled closer, her curvaceous body fitting perfectly against his, her violet gaze filled with a newfound depth. "You've given me more than salvation, Kai, this bond. It's eternal." The holographic links blinked out, granting them true solitude at last, but even in peace, a subtle undercurrent stirred, the artifact's gifts unfolding in their minds, hints of greater powers and challenges ahead. Yet for now, in the warmth of their shared embrace, the universe felt right, their union a beacon of hope amid the stars. But as they rose, dressing with lingering touches and stolen glances, a new alert hummed from the orb, faint disturbances at the Empire's edges, shadows of unrest that Vexar's fall hadn't fully quelled. Lyra's hand found his, squeezing with affectionate resolve. "We'll face it together," she said, her voice steady, though her body still hummed with the ritual's lingering warmth. Kai nodded, pulling her into one last embrace before they stepped out to meet the council, their bond unbreakable, ready for whatever trials awaited. The drama of the day had forged them anew, but in the quiet recesses of his thoughts, he wondered what other secrets their merged minds might reveal, curiosities that promised adventures as thrilling as their intimate connection. As they emerged from the artifact chamber, the warmth of their shared essence still humming through their veins like a subtle current, Kai and Lyra strode side by side into the council hall, where the assembled delegates awaited with bated breath. The holographic displays flickered with updates on the border disturbances, faint signals of unidentified vessels probing Nytheria's defenses, shadows that could be scouts or harbingers of invasion. Lyra's hand brushed Kai's in a fleeting touch, her luminous skin carrying a faint afterglow from the ritual, her curvaceous form moving with renewed confidence in the flowing robes she donned hastily. The bond pulsed between them, a silent thread of thoughts and feelings that made words almost unnecessary. He could sense her quiet resolve, laced with the thrill of their intimacy, while she felt the steady anchor of his human determination. The council rose in unison, their pointed ears perking with curiosity, murmurs rippling through the room like waves on a tranquil sea. Orin, the elder with his drooping ears, cleared his throat dramatically, his voice echoing in the vast hall. "The ritual is complete," the elder one stabilized. His eyes darted between them, searching for signs of change, while Tiva stood sentinel nearby, her silver hair tied back, expression a mask of professional stoicism, though Kai caught the subtle approval in her glance. Lyra nodded, her white hair catching the light as she addressed them with imperial grace. "It is done. Our union has sealed the artifact's power, granting us visions of unity, technologies to fortify our borders, alliances that could bridge our worlds with Earth's federation." She glanced at Kai, her violet eyes softening with affection, the bond allowing him to feel the depth of her gratitude, the way their merged essences amplified her emotions into something vividly human. He squeezed her hand under the table as they took their seats, his scarred fingers intertwining with hers, a gesture that didn't go unnoticed by the sharper-eyed delegates. Discussions flowed swiftly, plans unfolding like a well-orchestrated symphony, reinforcements to the edges, diplomatic envoys to Earth, and Kai's role as liaison, his unyielding mind now a key asset in harnessing the artifact's gifts. He contributed with grounded insights from his Terran wars, strategies for guerrilla defenses, human tech integrations that could complement Nytherian psionics. The council leaned in, intrigued by this outsider-turned savior, the atmosphere charged with optimism. Yet beneath it all, the bond whispered warnings to Kai, faint echoes from the orb, like half-remembered dreams, hinting at layers unseen. As the meeting progressed, a holographic alert materialized at the hall center, a priority transmission from the border patrols. Tiva activated it with a wave, and a grainy image resolved. A fleet of ships, sleek and ominous, bearing markings that made Kai's blood run cold. Earth's Federation insignia, but altered, twisted with unfamiliar runes that glowed with psionic energy. "They're hailing us," Tiva announced, her voice steady but edged with tension, demanding parley with the human. Kai stood, his heart pounding, the ritual's warmth suddenly feeling like a cage. "Patch it through." Lyra's concern flooded their link, her hand tightening on his arm, her sensual form leaning closer in silent support. The hologram shifted, revealing a figure on the command bridge. A human woman, sharp-featured with cybernetic enhancements glinting in her eyes, flanked by Nytherian hybrids, beings with pointed ears and pale skin but human builds. "Kai Harlan," she said, her voice clipped and familiar like an old comrade from the wars. "Or should I say, Agent Harlan, it's time to complete your mission." The words landed like a supernova, shattering the room's fragile peace. Kai froze, his mind reeling as fragmented memories surged through the bond, visions not his own but unlocked by the ritual. Lyra gasped, pulling back slightly, her violet eyes widening in betrayal and confusion, the council erupting in shouts. "What is this?" Orin demanded, his drooping ears quivering. Tiva's hand went to her weapon, guards shifting into defensive stances. But Kai's world tilted, the powerful twist unraveling in his thoughts like a hidden code activating. He wasn't just a crash soldier. The accident had been a cover, implanted deep in his subconscious by Earth's Black Ops division. The Federation, facing collapse from internal AI rebellions, had discovered ancient signals from Nytheria, clues to the artifact's power. They'd selected him, a decorated veteran with latent psionic potential from experimental enhancements, and buried the mission: infiltrate, break the curse, secure the Elder One for humanity. The crash, the fearless gesture, it had all been programmed, triggered by proximity to Lyra. But the ritual had cracked the mental blocks, revealing the truth in a flood that surprised even him. "No," Kai whispered, staggering back, his scarred face paling as he met Lyra's gaze. Through their bond, she felt it all, the unwitting deception, his genuine emotions clashing with the engineered directives. "I didn't know. It was buried. They made me forget." The council hall descended into chaos, delegates accusing him of espionage, Tiva ordering restraints. Lyra stood frozen, her white hair disheveled, her gauzy robes suddenly feeling like fragile armor against the heartbreak radiating through their link. Yet, amid the surprise, a deeper layer emerged. The Elder One's whispers clarified, revealing it had known, using the ritual to expose the ploy, not to destroy, but to forge true alliance. The holographic commander smirked. "The Federation needs that artifact, Harlan. Your bond was the key. Surrender it, or we take it by force." Ships on the display powered weapons, psionic amplifiers humming, tech stolen or traded from rogue Nytherians, explaining the hybrids. Kai's mind raced, the twist forcing a choice: loyalty to Earth or the love he discovered here. But the surprise deepened as Lyra stepped forward, her curvaceous form trembling but resolute, placing herself between him and the guards. "Wait," she commanded, her voice cutting through the din like a blade. Through the bond, he felt her turmoil, hurt, anger, but also understanding, her alien grace tempered by the human emotions now amplified in her. "He's not the enemy, the Elder One showed me. This was meant to happen. Earth's desperation mirrors our own past wars. Kai's heart is true, the deception was not his." The council hesitated, Orin's eyes narrowing. "Explain, Empress." As Lyra spoke, weaving the visions from the ritual prophecies of a human catalyst uniting fractured galaxies, Kai felt the bond strengthen, overriding the implanted commands. Memories clarified. He'd volunteered for the mission, but with reservations, his subconscious resisting until Lyra's touch awakened his free will. In a thrilling reversal, Kai turned to the hologram. "Mission aborted," he declared, his voice steady, the surprise shifting to empowerment. "Earth, stand down. The artifact isn't a weapon, it's a bridge. Attack and you'll face us both." The commander faltered, hybrids exchanging uneasy glances, but before she could respond, the orb in the adjacent chamber flared through linked displays, projecting a massive energy wave that disrupted the fleet systems, shields flickering, engines stalling. The twist culminated in revelation. The Elder One wasn't just an ancient entity. It was a symbiotic intelligence, seeded eons ago by a lost human expedition that intermingled with Nytherians, making their species distant kin. Kai's latent potential was heritage, unlocked now to heal old rifts. Lyra embraced him amid the stunned silence, her body pressing close, the bond flooding with forgiveness and passion. "You were always meant for this," she murmured, her pointed ears brushing his cheek, igniting familiar sparks. The council, recovering from the surprise, rallied, orders flying to negotiate with the fleet, using the artifact's power for diplomacy rather than war. Kai held Lyra tight, the powerful turn transforming betrayal into destiny, their union the galaxy's salvation. But as peace tentatively dawned, a final whisper from the Elder One echoed. Greater threats loomed, ancient voids awakening. The surprise had bonded them irrevocably, humans and Nytherians as one, ready for the star's next challenge. Yet in the quiet aftermath, as they retreated to her chambers for respite, Kai couldn't shake the lingering twist. Had the Elder One manipulated them all? Lyra sensed his doubt, pulling him into a kiss that reaffirmed their truth, her sensual form a promise of futures unexplored. The Empire steadied, but the bond hinted at more surprises, drawing them deeper into cosmic mysteries. As the Empire's fragile stability settled like dust after a cosmic storm, with diplomatic channels buzzing between Nytheria and Earth's Federation, Kai and Lyra found themselves navigating a labyrinth of newfound responsibilities that pulled them in directions both exhilarating and exhausting. The bond thrummed between them, a constant undercurrent of shared thoughts and emotions that made every glance feel like a private conversation, her violet eyes often catching his with a warmth that recalled their ritual's intimacy. Yet, the whispers of more surprises lingered, manifesting in subtle ways. Fleeting visions from the Elder One, hints of ancient voids stirring at the galaxy's fringes, drawing them deeper into mysteries that demanded attention. In the quiet intervals between council sessions, they retreated to her chambers, where the auroral lights painted shifting patterns on the walls, and Lyra's curvaceous form would lean against him, her white hair spilling over his shoulder like a cascade of starlight, seeking solace in his human steadiness. But peace proved elusive, the drama heightening almost immediately when an urgent summons arrived from the Federation's high command, a holographic summit to formalize the alliance, hosted on a neutral station orbiting a distant nebula. Kai stared at the invitation projected in the air, his scarred jaw tightening as he paced the room, his combat boots thudding softly on the crystalline floor. "This feels too soon," he muttered, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "We've barely caught our breath, and now they want a face-to-face, with me as the poster boy for interspecies relations." Lyra, seated on the edge of their shared bed, its adaptive cushions still molded from their last embrace, tilted her head, her pointed ears twitching in that endearing way that signaled her amusement mixed with concern. Through the bond, he felt her empathy, tinged with a flicker of nervousness about meeting his human counterparts. She rose, her gauzy robes swaying with her graceful movements, accentuating the sensual lines of her body as she approached him. "It's necessary, Kai. The Elder One's revelations, our shared heritage, changes everything. But yes, it will be awkward." Her lips curved into a small smile, violet eyes sparkling. "Imagine an empress and her human consort parading before bureaucrats who probably think pointed ears are a fashion statement." Kai chuckled despite himself, pulling her close, the humor lightening the tension as his hands settled on her hips. "Consort? Still getting used to that title. Back on Earth, they'd call me something less fancy, like that guy who hooked up with an alien queen and accidentally saved the galaxy." The journey to the station amplified the drama, their shuttle slicing through hyperspace with an escort of Nytherian cruisers, sleek vessels that hummed with psionic shields. Kai fidgeted in his formal attire, a hybrid uniform blending human fatigues with Nytherian elegance, complete with flowing cape that kept tangling in his legs. "This thing's a hazard," he grumbled, nearly tripping as they prepared to dock. Lyra stifled a laugh, adjusting the fabric with gentle hands, her touch lingering in a way that sent warmth through their bond. "You look distinguished," she assured him, though her eyes danced with mirth. "Though perhaps less rugged than I'm accustomed to." The awkwardness peaked when the shuttle's AI announced their arrival in a chirpy voice. "Docking complete. Welcome to Nebula Station, where diplomacy meets destiny, and don't forget to tip your android attendants." Stepping onto the station, they were greeted by a phalanx of Federation officials, stern-faced humans in crisp uniforms, their eyes widening comically at the sight of Lyra, her ethereal beauty turning heads, whispers rippling through the crowd like a poorly suppressed scandal. One ambassador, a portly man named Ezra with a mustache that looked like it had its own agenda, bowed awkwardly, his gaze lingering a beat too long on her pointed ears and luminous skin. "Empress Lyra, a pleasure, and Captain Harlan, or is it Prince Harlan now?" Kai felt heat creep up his neck, the bond flooding with Lyra's amusement as she sensed his discomfort. "Just Kai," he replied with a forced grin. "No crowns for me, unless it's one of those paper ones from fast food joints back home." The summit hall was a marvel of neutral design, holographic stars swirling overhead, round tables fostering equality, though the seating arrangement immediately sparked drama. Kai and Lyra were placed at the center, flanked by Federation admirals on one side and Nytherian delegates on the other, creating a powder keg of cultural clashes. As proceedings began, an admiral named Seth leaned in, his voice booming. "So this bond, it's like a marriage, or more of a strategic merger?" The question hung in the air, awkward and probing, drawing stifled chuckles from the Nytherians and reddened faces from the humans. Kai shifted in his seat, feeling Lyra's hand brush his under the table for support. "Bit of both," he quipped, trying to diffuse with humor. "Think of it as upgrading from allies to allies with benefits. Health insurance included, covers psychic headaches." Lyra played along, her melodic laugh easing the tension, but the drama escalated when holographic displays activated, projecting the Elder One's visions for all to see. Ancient human explorers intermingling with Nytherian ancestors, DNA strands twisting like lovers in an embrace. Gasps echoed, humans realizing their pure lineage was cosmic fiction, Nytherians confronting their human roots. One Federation scientist, a wiry woman named Mira, blurted out, "This means we're cousins? Does that make the bond incestuous?" The room froze in awkward horror, Kai nearly spitting out his drink while Lyra's cheeks flushed lavender. Through the bond, he sent a mental nudge. Asterisk, well, that's one way to kill the mood. Asterisk, she responded with a suppressed giggle, squeezing his hand. Distant cousins, Kai clarified with exaggerated solemnity. Like, we share a great-great-grandpa who crashed a spaceship distant. No family reunions needed, but the humor couldn't mask the heightening stakes as debates turned heated. A faction of Federation hardliners, suspicious of the artifact's power, demanded access. For verification, they claimed, though their eyes gleamed with ambition. Nytherian elders countered fiercely, Orin pounding the table with his gnarled fist. You humans barge in, claim kinship, and expect our sacred heart? Preposterous. Kai felt the drama coil tighter, his role as bridge straining under the weight. Lyra's concern pulsed through their link, her curvaceous form tensing beside him, her pointed ears flattening slightly in agitation. A subtle sign he'd learned meant she was holding back a storm. The awkward pinnacle arrived during a break, when Kai and Lyra sought a quiet alcove for respite, only to be cornered by Ezra, the mustachioed ambassador who sidled up with a conspiratorial wink. Between us men, or, well, man and whatever, how's the, compatibility? You know, with the ears and all. Kai's jaw dropped, the question so absurdly invasive it bordered on farce. Lyra, overhearing through the bond, stepped in with regal poise, her voice sweet but laced with steel. Ambassador, our compatibility is exemplary. Perhaps you'd like a demonstration, in diplomacy, of course. Ezra blanched, stammering apologies as he backed away, tripping over his own feet in a comedic tumble that drew laughter from nearby delegates. The incident lightened the air momentarily, but drama surged anew when alarms blared, border sensors detecting anomalies, voids cracking open like wounds in space, spewing tendrils of darkness that echoed the Elder One's warnings. It's happening, Lyra breathed, her hand gripping Kai's as holograms showed ships vanishing into the rifts. The summit dissolved into panic, accusations flying, humans blaming Nytherian tech, Nytherians suspecting Federation sabotage. Kai stood, his voice cutting through the chaos. Enough, this isn't us versus them, it's all of us against whatever's out there. The Elder One chose this moment for a reason. In the frenzy, an awkward revelation struck via the bond, visions clarifying that the voids were awakened by their union, a side effect of merging human and Nytherian essences, stirring dormant entities jealous of the balance. We caused this? Kai muttered, humor creeping in despite the dread. Great, our love life's a galaxy endangerer, should have stuck to Netflix dates. Lyra's laugh was brief but genuine, pulling him into a quick embrace amid the turmoil, her body pressing close, reigniting sparks that grounded him. As fleets mobilized, joint forces of human destroyers and Nytherian psionic vessels, Kai and Lyra boarded a command ship, the drama reaching fever pitch with last-minute betrayals. A Federation mole exposed, trying to transmit artifact codes, thwarted by Tiva's swift intervention. Traitors everywhere, Kai quipped, dodging a stun blast in the corridors, his psionic blade humming. It's like a bad spy novel with better special effects. The fight was brief but intense, heightening the awkwardness when the mole, a former comrade of Kai's, pleaded it was for Earth. Kai subdued him with a mix of regret and resolve. Earth needs better friends, not thieves. Arriving at the void's edge, the sight was awe-inspiring and terrifying, swirling blackness devouring stars, entities emerging like nightmarish whales from the deep. Lyra channeled the artifact's power through their bond, her form glowing, curves outlined in ethereal light as she stood at the viewport. Kai joined her, his human will amplifying the seal, but the entities lashed out, psychic assaults probing their minds, visions of doubt, temptations of power. One awkward surge hit Kai with a hallucination of Lyra rejecting him, her pointed ears mocking his primitive form. He shook it off with humor. Nice try, space blob. She stuck with me, cape tangles and all. The climax built as they dove into the rift, ship shuddering, drama peaking with systems failing, crew panicking. Lyra collapsed under the strain, her luminous skin paling, but Kai held her, pouring his essence through the bond. Stay with me, he urged, humor fading into raw emotion. Can't rule without my bad jokes. Her eyes fluttered open, strength returning, and together they unleashed a wave that mended the void, entities retreating with ethereal wails. Emerging victorious, the alliance solidified, but the awkward aftermath lingered. Celebrations where humans tried Nytherian dances, resulting in hilarious mishaps, Kai stepping on toes, Lyra attempting a human high-five that turned into an accidental hug. Through it all, their bond deepened, drama giving way to promise. Yet, as they returned to Auralis, a final whisper hinted at more, voids sealed, but doors opened to new realms. Kai pulled Lyra close under the auroras, whispering, "Ready for round 2. Her laugh echoed, their future a tapestry of love, laughter, and looming adventures. As the auroras danced overhead like veils of living color, weaving patterns that seemed to celebrate their hard-won victory, Kai and Lyra lingered on the balcony of her palace on Auralis, the cool night air carrying scents of blooming crystal flowers that bloomed only under starlight. Her laugh still echoed in his ears, a melodic sound that had become his favorite symphony amid the chaos of galaxies colliding and alliances forging. He held her close, his arm wrapped around her waist, feeling the gentle rise and fall of her breath against him, her curvaceous form fitting perfectly into the crook of his body, as if the universe had designed them for this very moment. The voids were sealed, the immediate threats banished back to the shadows from whence they came, and for the first time since his crash landing, Kai allowed himself to exhale fully, the weight of deceptions, battles, and revelations lifting like mist in the morning sun. Lyra tilted her head back, her white hair shimmering as it caught the auroral glow, her pointed ears brushing his chin in a tickle that drew a soft chuckle from him. Through their bond, he felt the ebb of her earlier tensions, the fears of betrayal, the burdens of empire, giving way to a profound peace, laced with the warmth of their shared intimacy. Round 2, she echoed his words with a playful lilt, her violet eyes meeting his, sparkling with mischief and love. But perhaps, my bold human, we deserve a moment of quiet before the stars call us again. She turned in his embrace, her hands resting on his chest, fingers tracing the scars that mapped his journey from Earth's wars to this alien throne. The ritual's essence pulsed between them, a living connection that made every touch feel like a promise renewed, her luminous skin warm against his calloused palms. They wandered back into the chambers, the doors sealing with a soft hum, shutting out the Empire's lingering echoes, the reports of joint fleets patrolling the borders, the tentative treaties being inked between human Federation envoys and Nytherian elders. For tonight, it was just them, two souls who had defied curses and voids alike. Kai guided her to the bed, its adaptive surface welcoming them like an old friend, and they sank into it together, clothes shedding in unhurried layers as they rediscovered each other in the quiet aftermath. Their lovemaking was gentle this time, a slow exploration born of certainty rather than urgency, bodies moving in harmonious rhythms that spoke of futures intertwined. Her soft sighs filled the room, mingling with his whispered endearments, the bond amplifying every sensation until they crested in shared bliss, collapsing into a tangle of limbs and contentment. In the hush that followed, as they lay entwined under the aurora-lit canopy, Lyra propped herself on one elbow, her curvaceous silhouette outlined in soft light, and gazed at him with a depth that made his heart swell. "You've changed everything, Kai," she murmured, her voice a caress. "Not just for Nytheria, but for me. I ruled in isolation, a queen bound by illusions. Now, with you, I feel whole." He reached up, tucking a strand of her white hair behind her pointed ear, marveling at how this ethereal being had become his anchor. "And you've shown me there's more to the stars than survival," he replied, his tone rough with emotion. "Earth taught me to fight, but you taught me to hope. We're kin, after all, distant echoes of the same wanderers who seeded the galaxy." The days that followed blended into a tapestry of renewal, the drama of recent events giving way to the steady rhythm of building something lasting. Kai stood beside Lyra in council halls, his human perspectives bridging gaps that had once seemed insurmountable, suggesting hybrid technologies that merged Earth's rugged engineering with Nytheria's psionic elegance, fostering academies where young humans and Nytherians learned side by side. Awkward moments still arose, like when Federation delegates fumbled Nytherian customs, bowing too deeply or mistaking ritual dances for combat drills, drawing laughs that eased old suspicions. Kai's humor became legendary, diffusing tensions with quips like, "Hey, if we can seal a void, we can handle a mismatched handshake." Lyra's grace complemented him perfectly, her sensual presence commanding respect while her bond with him humanized her in the eyes of skeptics. One evening, as twin suns dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of crimson and gold, they hosted a grand celebration on Auralis, a fusion of Earth barbecues and Nytherian light festivals, where holographic fireworks mingled with grilled meats from replicated Terran recipes. Tiva, now promoted to head of the Joint Guard, shared a toast with Federation Admiral Seth, their initial wariness melted into camaraderie. Orin, the elder, even attempted a human jig, his drooping ears flapping comically, eliciting roars of laughter from the crowd. Kai watched it all with Lyra at his side, her hand in his, feeling the bond hum with collective joy, a galaxy healing, one shared story at a time. Yet, in quieter moments, they reflected on the path that led here. Seated by a bioluminescent garden, Lyra leaned against him, her head on his shoulder as they gazed at the stars. The Elder One's gifts, they whisper of more to come, she said softly, her fingers interlacing with his. Ancient realms beyond the voids waiting to be explored. Kai nodded, his gray eyes distant but unafraid. And we'll face them together. Humans don't quit, and with you, I feel like we can conquer anything. She smiled, pulling him into a kiss that tasted of promise, her body pressing close in a way that reignited familiar fires, reminding him that their love was the true artifact. Enduring, powerful, unbreakable. As seasons turned on Auralis, their union bore fruit in ways both personal and profound. Whispers spread of air on the horizon, a child blending human resilience with Nytherian grace, symbolizing the galaxy's new era. Kai, once a lone soldier, found purpose in mentorship, training hybrid forces with tales of Earth's grit, while Lyra governed with a lighter heart, her isolation a faded memory. The artifact chamber, now a sanctuary of knowledge rather than secrets, hummed contentedly, its Elder One silent but watchful, as if approving the harmony they'd wrought. In the end, as they stood on that same balcony years later, watching their child chase glowing insects through the gardens below, Kai turned to Lyra, his scars softened by time, her beauty timeless. Who knew a crash landing would lead to this? He mused, his arm around her. She laughed, that melodic sound wrapping around his heart. The stars did, my love, and humanity, fuck yeah, we made it our own. Their kiss under the auroras sealed the story, a testament to fearless gestures, unbreakable bonds, and the audacity of love to reshape the cosmos. The galaxy, once divided, now thrived in unity, with Kai and Lyra at its heart. A good ending, but really, just the beginning of forever. As the auroras faded into dawn's embrace, Kai and Lyra's legacy echoed across the stars, a beacon of humanity's unyielding spirit and the power of love to conquer even the darkest voids. In my opinion, this tale beautifully captures the essence of HFY, showing how human courage and empathy can bridge worlds and rewrite destinies. What do you think? Would you want a sequel exploring new galactic threats? Thank you all for watching. Your likes, subs, comments, and shares are our greatest motivation to create even better stories.